The fallout from the revelations in the Epstein files has now led to a 1 in 400-year event. Authorities in the United Kingdom arresting former Prince Andrew early this morning. It is nothing short of a stunning moment, and one that only makes the lack of accountability over here in the United States of America all the more glaring. Prince Andrew was arrested today by authorities on suspicions of public misconduct. The accusation specifically is that he shared confidential government information with Jeffrey Epstein. This photo shows him leaving the police station just a little bit ago. There have been calls for accountability for former Prince Andrew for years now, particularly from one of Jeffrey Epstein's most prominent and known victims, Virginia Roberts Giuffre. She had said that Epstein trafficked her to Andrew, who then raped her multiple times. Andrew has denied that and any wrongdoing in relation to his ties with Jeffrey Epstein. In 2022, he settled a lawsuit with Virginia Giuffre for an undisclosed amount. Here's Virginia in her own words describing what happened to her in a BBC documentary in 2019.
So Andrew drives in the other car. He's not with us. He's with his security guards. And in the car, Ghislaine tells me that I have to do for Andrew what I do for Jeffrey. And that made me sick. I just didn't expect it from royalty. The whole entire procedure, it was disgusting. He wasn't mean or anything, but he got up and he said thanks and walked out, and I sat there in bed just horrified and ashamed and felt dirty, and I had to get up and go have a shower, and it was a wicked time in my life. It was a really scary time in my life.
Today, her family is speaking out, saying this in a statement, quote, "At last, today our broken hearts have been lifted at the news that no one is above the law, not even royalty. On behalf of our sister, Virginia Roberts Giuffre, we extend our gratitude to the UK's Thames Valley Police for their investigation and arrest of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. He was never a prince. For survivors everywhere, Virginia did this for you." That news that UK authorities arrested a member of the royal family, something that has not happened since the 17th century, is crazy, but it only underscores the lack of any law enforcement activity here in this country. None. Or even the lack of any real accountability for the people whose ties to Jeffrey Epstein call into question whether they ever had the judgment to hold positions of power or influence in the first place. Republican Congressman Thomas Massie tweeted this, quote, "Prince Andrew was just arrested. This was the metric I established for the success of the Epstein Files Transparency Act that Representative Ro Khanna and I got passed. Now, we need justice in the United States. It's time for AG Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel to act." His colleague and co-sponsor of the Epstein bill, Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna, said this, quote, "Even princes are not above the law." Representative Thomas Massie and I forced the release of an email showing former Prince Andrew allegedly shared state information with Epstein. On February 9th, I called on King Charles to investigate and answer questions. Andrew is being held accountable because of the survivors, people like Virginia Giuffre, who bravely spoke up. We've also seen Sultan Ahmed bin Salman resign from DP World, the former Norwegian prime minister be charged with gross corruption, Peter Mandelson be fired as ambassador and step down from the House of Lords, Catherine Rumler stepped down from Goldman Sachs, and other examples of accountability around the world. But why isn't more being done here? We should start with Howard Lutnick resigning. The downfall of a prince breathing new life into calls for accountability for associates of Jeffrey Epstein as high up as members of Trump's own cabinet is where we start today. Tara Palmieri is, of course, here with us. She writes the Red Letter on Substack, has hosted 2 podcast series on the Epstein case. Also joining us, New York Times senior correspondent Michael Shear, who covers British politics and culture. And joining me at the table, legal analyst Christy Greenberg is here. She's a former criminal division deputy chief at SDNY. She's the host of the YouTube show Courtside. Tara, I know of all of us here, you are someone who knew Virginia, and you know the family, and you knew her story. Your thoughts today?
I mean, I'm overwhelmed for her. I'm sad that she's not alive to see this. I know how hard it was for her for so many years to be dragged by the British press, by so many people for making, allegations against then the Prince Andrew. And to now see that so many of the things that he has said were lies. The fact that he claimed that he cut off all contact with Epstein, lies. Now we're seeing he was actually trading information, privileged information to Jeffrey Epstein as trade envoy. That this insane theory he said about, I can't sweat from the war in the Falklands. And then even denying that the picture that they had together, that it was even a real picture. And it's just, his credibility has been completely shattered. Virginia's not the only survivor that I have spoken with who remembers Prince Andrew distinctly and remembers being around him. She remembered him using a puppet to grab the hands of a puppet to grab her breasts. So, we're getting a much clearer picture of who Prince Andrew really is, who this man is versus the man that he claims to be, right? And I agree with Massey and Kana that this would have never come to light without the Epstein Files Transparency Act. And yet we still have 2.5 million more documents that we don't know, that we'll never see. And is this for national security purposes? Is this to protect other people? Is this really about the victims? Because even of the 3.5 million that we've seen, we know that they've redacted the names of powerful men. So there's still so much more, Nicole. And just to think that the few files that we have that they have caused, they have started a domino effect to fall. And will it hit our shores? One can only hope. But this is an amazing day for Virginia and for her family.
I don't want to rush over what Virginia said happened to her and what the allegations are against former Prince Andrew. So let me just show people a little bit more about what it looked like when some of the allegations started to surface. And again, against a headwind, not just of naysayers, not just of sort of the classic misogyny, but against sort of the machine around royalty. This is former Prince Andrew in 2019.
You were staying at the house of
Yes.
a convicted sex offender.
It was a convenient place to stay. I've gone through this in my mind so many times. At the end of the day, with the benefit of all the hindsight that one could have, it was definitely the wrong thing to do. But at the time, I felt it was the honourable and right thing to do. And I admit fully that my judgment was probably coloured by my tendency to be too honourable, but that's just the way it is.
Because during that time, those few days, witnesses say they saw many young girls coming and going at the time. There is video footage of Epstein accompanied by young girls. And you were there staying in his house, catching up with friends.
If they were, then I wasn't a party to any of that.
Only a sociopath who turns out to actually be engaged in child sex trafficking calls himself, quote, too honorable. Not just honorable, but, quote, too honorable. What was his role in the abuse?
I mean, as Virginia has said consistently, she was brought to the UK and told to do to Prince Andrew what she did for Jeffrey Epstein. And like the details that she had, what she wore, that Ghislaine Maxwell took her shopping to go get her a Burberry outfit, which is something she remembered in detail. She remembered going to a nightclub with him and the fact that he was sweating. She remembered being in the bed with him, the bathtub. I mean, and for so long, the way that this story has been reported was that she was a teen whore, a teen slut, that she had done something wrong. And And you're right. I mean, that is the power of the royals. I mean, she was supposed to do an interview with ABC News. And in Amy Robach's own words, I mean, she was caught on a hidden camera. She said that interview was killed because the network wanted to maintain a relationship with the family. There's a gravitational force around the royals. And this is the first time in 400 years that a senior royal has been arrested. And that says something. That is power protecting itself. But this is a line that has been crossed. But when are we going to have those lines defined in our own country?